Oh God, we're alive and we're back.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Yes, we are.
Oh,
This is,
God damn, you hit a good soundbite. Holy moly.
I hope so.
That's
I hope
good.
so.
That's good.
This is Pacific Xperience. This is Pack X. Pack X is with you. You are with Pack X.
Invite yourself in and please sit down.
Yes.
And relax.
Relax.
Welcome to the upper left.
Grab a beer. This is the Pacific Xperience podcast where we give you the experiences that we have up here in the Pacific Northwest. I am your host, Lloyd Smith, with
Sir Austin Davis,
and
here at reigning badminton champ via the Wendell Palace.
So he claims. So
Yeah.
So Austin and I, we went out and played some intense ass fucking
Yeah, we'll iron out rules
before we
later,
started.
but for it being loose lod, I can.
Dude, I started fucking dying when we're like, okay, no more farting around. We're getting serious. And then as soon as we hit it, we did like 3 little passes back and forth, and Austin just fucking spikes it, and we start rolling. And Austin goes, bitch. And that was good. That was fucking funny.
Yeah, dude, you can't. If you're gonna play games with friends and you're saying it's just for bragging rights, or you're saying that it's just happening to happen, there's gotta be some competition. You gotta bring some seriousness.
Of course, absolutely. There always has to be a little bit of competition.
It's
no fun.
Oh,
it's not fun if there's no competition.
Oh yeah, man, we're still working out the sound beds.
Yeah. Well, this is episode 11.
Dude.
So we had a little. I want to apologize to some of the listeners out there. We definitely had a few hiccups with the sound quality there on that last episode and the episode before that. But I think this one should be at least mediocre, somewhat in the bag. So hopefully this will be okay. But
I think we're working out in terms of inviting people on and how and what to talk about. It's always the ebb and flow that's the hardest. If you don't have people that are consistent, it becomes hard to have that conversation, whereas you sit and listen to somebody.
Absolutely.
It's not a negative thing, but it's something that I've learned listening to podcasts. I can respect that if people filter through more people, the host has to really have a good amount of timing in terms of when to allow them to speak, and then interjecture and create conversation that doesn't make it feel like for 45 minutes there's a single voice. Because that's something I enjoy. And now when I listen to our podcast, it's how I edit myself and think about better things to do. But I do enjoy there's a good amount of give and flow.
I agree. But yeah, and more importantly, what I love hearing is hearing good stories that people have to tell, and I also like learning insights and mindsets that people have too, which makes me practice being on the podcast, but it makes me act in a certain behavior, so that way I'm practicing being more open-minded.
Is that the point of the podcast?
I don't know.
I think it's learning.
Maybe
that should be.
I think learning along with a little bit of knowledge vomiting too, a little bit of conspiracy vomiting too. After you dive in the rabbit hole for 2 years, you just have to fucking tell someone.
Get it out.
You want to give someone else the red pill.
Yep.
Essentially, and a good the buddy we had on last week's episode, Colt 45. He was he had stayed with me for a week, and normally what I do is I listen to my podcast during my commute. Well, he was with me during my commute during that week too, so I went backwards and caught him up on some stuff, and he gave him the red pill, some shit that I haven't talked about with anyone, just showing him the deepest of the deep and just being look at this, look at that. And then he took off with it, and then after that's dude, you can't unsee what you see. You can't unlearn what you learn.
You gotta find out for yourself.
You can't unknow what you know, and you have to find out for yourself. And all I'm doing here is just showing you the dark tunnel and handing you the flashlight. You're the one going in. Now you tell me what you see. I'm just handing this to you. You do with it, what you want. And of course, we're talking about a super hot jalapeno. I'm just kidding.
The spiciest.
Yeah.
The holy grail of peppers.
So, Austin, I wanted to ask you. A lot of people portray the Pacific Northwest as, maybe creepy, kind of dark, mystical, I guess. Well, I wanted to ask you, what are some fucking crazy ass stories? And I mean some fucking scary ass shit. What is some fucking crazy ass shit, crazy ass stories that you know, some paranormal related shit that you know that has happened up here in the Pacific Northwest? Like I want to be like shitting my pants, fucking scared.
God, it's not paranormal.
Dude, I can not even paranormal, just freaky shit. Oh, Starvation Heights. That's a good one.
I don't even know the story about that.
You don't even know the story about Starvation
No.
Heights? Well, I can tell you the gist of it.
Go ahead.
I mean, and for our listeners out there too. So for our listeners out there, if you don't know about Starvation Heights is this place where a female doctor that was German who came here during the early 1900s or late 1800s and was an immigrant from there and came here and became a doctor and had a house where she would treat patients from about South Puget Sound area. And the way that she would treat her patients, it was a method that she believed actually worked, which was starving her patients to death. And that was nearby, and she did so by killing, and ended up killing many people and burying them at her property. That property is abandoned, and I actually went there. It's not too far from where we are right now. It's probably a good 20-minute drive, actually.
Jesus.
And we drove over there, and we checked it out. And that night, we'd actually been exploring a ton of abandoned houses. Me and my friends that night. And there's quite a few crazy stories from the shit that we explored that night. But the only house that we got to, that we did not go inside of, that was abandoned, was this house. Because when we got there, we were like, yep, fuck that. No, as soon as we got there, dude, you could just tell. It was so fucking creepy. It was so weird. We didn't even get out of the car. And we'd gone into other houses that were just as fucking creepy. Not with the backstory behind it, but ones that were fucking old and like...
Is it because you knew the backstory that
I think it's because we knew the
backstory?
Absolutely, it's because we knew the backstory. And not to mention, by that time too, I don't know, but that was the last house we'd gone to. We were piss-faced drunk. We had already gone through so many different houses. One of the guys who was with us had a really bad cut on his arm. Like, dumbass, like, broke, like, some glass or something on accident. And, I think he, like, punched out a window so we could get in when we, like, found, like, the open door around the corner anyways. Mind you, people, these are abandoned houses. Like, old, fucking long and forgotten.
Feel sympathy for the guy that almost severed his artery and died.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, this guy. But anyways, all these properties now, I can tell you for sure, except for one of them, and probably the Starvation Heights one, they're all gone now. I mean, they've been taken down, or property's now been claimed.
Built on them.
Ownership's been claimed on them. Yeah, or at least like a sign's been put up now, or something. So, anyways, but that one we definitely said fuck no to that because that was scary as fuck. Not to mention, not too far down, actually not too far at all, like less than 10 minutes away from there is where Ted Bundy used to live, around here in these parts as well. Which,
so for those of you that don't know, Washington State's got quite a few serial killers throughout their history.
Something like that.
And a lot of people like to, but the main thing is that people think that due to sort of the weather and the seclusion, so here's a myth that I will dispel, because I fucking hate this.
Please.
People say that it rains 9 months out of the year here. It does not rain 9 months out of the year here. That's some fucking bullshit. But here's what happens, is that from about late April, maybe start of early May, we start getting spots of sun, and people really start to love and enjoy it. And it actually is a fucking wonderful summer, and it's a wonderful harvest season here. I mean, it goes from that time until about end of September, October. I mean, last year, dude.
Yeah, dude, it truly is.
We had nice days until the very fucking end of October. I know this because I went hiking all through the fall, and I remember doing a hike end of October, and did a hike early November, and November was covered in snow. We had this crazy... So, this is for all you people that live in the Northwest, and it was a nerdy weather season, but we had this crazy low weather system come in off of a storm. It was part of some like Arctic storm that went over Russia and whatnot, but part of it broke off. And early November we got crazy low temps,
Yeah.
It was really dry, but we have mountains and valleys, and when you have that and you have that fluctuation change and temperature change, it can create moisture and clouds and whatnot. So we were actually doing a hike, and we hiked this trail in probably like 2 feet of snow. Anyways, I digress. When people talk about how it rains here 9 out of 12 months of the year, it's bullshit. People don't like that when you hit that like late fall but early winter season, it does get gray and cloudy. We do have sun that closes at 2 p.m. I mean, you go to work in dark, and then you get off work in dark.
Yeah.
That's something that I feel can be very prominent for people where unless you wake up in those winter seasons at 4 a.m.
That's not too bad though.
And that's the thing, is that it's such an extreme that I feel people talk about, like, oh, the Seattle freeze, like, oh, people here are so cold and passive aggressive. Yes, people are cold and passive aggressive, but I feel
it does get fucking cold here though.
Yeah, dude. Probably compared to like what, the East Coast or Alaska?
I don't know. I don't compared to wherever. I don't know. All I know is it gets cold compared to California.
Yeah, there you go.
That's all. That's where.
Degrees.
Yeah. I've been in Oregon a fuck ton, in California a fuck ton.
But so
Washington a fuck
we
ton.
were talking about Starvation Heights and like sort of what draws. We've had a lot of serial killers in our history.
Dark weather. What is it, people? Tell us. Why do we have a bunch of serial killers coming from here? You remember the Green River Killer?
Yeah, who doesn't?
Yeah, the Green River Killer.
That was a little bit before our time, but our parents grew up in it.
Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, I had a past girlfriend that her mom lived down the street from the Green River Killer.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so Washington, we're known to have a bunch of serial killers, along with, of course, a lot of talent in music. I mean, we can go on about that. Oh, shall we? Shall we name? Let's go ahead. So here from
you're better versed on it. I can only think of one.
What?
Death Cab. I mean, I can think of the obvious of Nirvana.
Yeah, so there's
Soundgarden, but
there you go. So okay, that's 3. So we got Death Cab, Soundgarden, Nirvana.
Soundgarden is also like with Audio Slave, and it's something else after that. The lead singer recently killed himself. That's how I remember it.
Oh, that's right. From Washington. Was he from Washington?
I don't know if he was from Washington, but I know it was.
Huh.
The main things in terms of music, Blues Scholars, Macklemore, and again, it's not trying to sound at all like hipsterish, but I can remember songs from Macklemore that rapped with people like Geo and Sabzi, which, I mean, you have the Blues Scholars, you have there's a huge sort of hip hop older community that was funny growing up Mormon, but I got exposed to and I really fucking enjoyed. Like, it's what got me hooked on a Tribe Called Quest, on Nas, and what got me onto
I'll drink to that.
Dude, it was insane, honestly. And it's something that I think has been emphasized really well. There's
who else?
Atmosphere.
Who else from Washington though?
Well, in terms of musicians,
there's Modest Mouse.
Oh, Modest Mouse. Yes.
Modest Mouse is from Issaquah. Jimi Hendrix, of course, from Seattle. Alice in Chains. Alice in Chains is from Seattle. Who else? Isn't Bruce Lee from Seattle? He's not music, but he is famous.
The actor?
I don't know. See, I want to find this shit out. Hey, if you guys know shit,
pop it up on the interwebs.
I don't really like spending time typing and getting all quiet like on the podcast and searching away. That's why I need someone here to be typing this shit when we're looking.
I'm stupid. You're smart. I was wrong. You were right.
That is pure fucking insanity.
Yeah. So what? Anywho, but. What? So, I mean, yeah, we have a lot of musicians coming here from the Pacific Northwest. We definitely have a fuck ton of weird shit. We're weird, that's for sure. We're weird as fuck. We have musicians, psychopaths, serial killers. I remember reading something one time and it said that we had a handful of famous NASCAR drivers from Washington. I was like, I don't know one famous
so
NASCAR
specific.
driver from Washington.
Yeah.
Then I had to think, do
That's
I know
specific
one
as
famous
shit.
NASCAR driver except for the one that we all know?
Dale Earnhardt.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. That's the only one I
sir.
know. I mean, nothing against NASCAR. Obviously,
Bobby Bush.
I don't know anything about NASCAR, but I don't know any of them from Washington. or Oregon.
Washington.
But dude, you know what is creepy as fuck? Actually, you know about the Shining.
Yeah, Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson in The Shining. What's his name?
He was shot in that hotel or whatever.
The one who made the movie. What's his name? Stanley Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick, who also made Full Metal Jacket, who's also known to be who's also tied into the conspiracies with the moon landings. If the moon landings were fake or not, and they say if they were shot or if they were filmed, which I think they did that as a backup, and I think that probably got confused with it being fake. When I think they probably had that as a reserve in case something went wrong, they could lie and say that they did. But I think they actually did. But I think having the backup created the conspiracy probably. That's my thought on it.
Yeah.
I don't know. If someone has more shit to educate me on it, please do. But that's, in a nutshell, that's Stanley Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick made the...
Clockwork Orange.
I don't know if he wrote... Excuse me. I don't know if he wrote, but at least he made the movie The Shining. The Shining is a true story.
True story?
The Shining is a true fucking story. And
It's about a crazy writer.
it's about a man who is turns crazy, but what he gets tasked with is the job of watching over a hotel during the winter when it closes down. This hotel is way up in the mountains out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's like Mount
In
Hood.
the Pacific Northwest.
It's like Mount Hood. It's somewhere in Oregon.
So yeah. So somewhere in Oregon. This is true. We can look this up. When we take the break, we will definitely look this up. We'll get a little educated on it, and then we'll come back from the break with some knowledge to blow your fucking minds. So the true story goes is this guy went there with his family, and he actually went a little fucking crazy and murdered his wife and his kid. So they made a movie about it. But they didn't do it as a true story. They did it as a as a horror flick. But yeah, so The Shining is super fucking creepy, super scary. And here's the crazy thing: they filmed it at the actual location that it happened at. So Jack Nicholson too, did some crazy shit protocol, for acting measures. In order to
get
play
into
the
character.
role. Yeah, to get into character. And we've talked about this on the podcast before. Some of the shit that these guys do is crazy. Like what they'll do, like the lengths that they'll go, how far they will go, what extent they'll put their bodies through and their minds through to commit to the realism
Playing
of a
a
role.
role.
Oh, it's amazing, dude. That is almost more fascinating than watching the role itself in a lot of these movies sometimes, is seeing an actor that you know well, who you've seen act as like a dumbass on the Disney Channel or some shit,
Yeah.
and now you're seeing them as like a fucking professional, blowing your mind away with shit that you could only imagine in your head, up until now, and you're seeing it now on a screen. I love that shit. Jack Nicholson delivers that. Jim fucking Carrey delivers that. Will Smith is definitely the man, for sure.
Tom Hardy.
Shout out to our actors. You mentioned Tom Hardy on the podcast last on a couple episodes ago. Tom Hardy's the man.
So the first thing I ever saw Tom Hardy in was the documentary regarding Bronson, and
yeah.
that was. I don't know his background. I haven't read his biography, but in terms of, or even his IMDb page regarding where Tom Hardy's from, he did a British accent great. Bronson was a crazy man, and he was in jail, and he was known for beating the shit out of other people. He was like this strongman boxer in jail, was just known for being violent. He's a very violent prisoner.
Scary.
Charles Bronson, and
Okay.
Tom Hardy did this documentary in terms of doing Charles Bronson, and there were some very interesting scenes where it was Bronson as a child, but it was so he'd be on a stage and he'd be portraying little Bronson and then Bronson's mom, but it would just be Tom Hardy, and he had his face painted two different things, and he was wearing 2 different outfits. So basically, one side of him was dressed as a male, like in a suit and a tie, or like a little boy outfit.
Yeah.
And then he would turn, and the other side was done with makeup, and he had like a partial wig on, and he's wearing a partial dress. So it was like a half and half. Dude, but he played the role so fucking well, and that was the whole point, is that Charles Bronson was crazy. This guy was insane. I mean, he was violent, and he was insane.
Cool.
And he was big. I mean, and Tom Hardy did Bane and Batman. He did this movie called Fighter, I believe. But he has trained for a lot of roles where he had to get like buff.
Is he your favorite actor? Who is your favorite actor?
I mean, Tom Hardy's definitely up there. Jim Carrey is by far my favorite actor.
I
grew up watching Jim Carrey and Ace Ventura.
Yeah,
but watching him evolve, but also watching people do talks and speeches, and Jim Carrey's gone through some shit. Same with Patton Oswalt. Like Patton Oswalt, fat comedian. Sounds mean to say. Don't take it as mean. He refers to himself as fat. It's okay. But he's a comedian. His wife died, and he wrote this sort of talk about like how he translated his wife dying and whatnot. But like, I feel that's what Jim Carrey, and you can even say like Joe Rogan. These people that like. People that are performers and artists get to a point where they see reality, especially when you're that famous. There definitely is a fracture. When you make a lot of money, when people treat you differently, like law enforcement and other people treat you differently because you're famous, it can be fracturing to your personality. Joe Rogan had a little
Everyone wants it though, man. That's the crazy part. Everyone wants to be famous.
It's so misleading though. Can you imagine that?
It does seem like it's misleading,
secondary stories, but hearing stories
I would
about
like to take a
Dave
step in being famous.
Dave Chappelle talking about like going to like big celebrity parties with Mel Gibson, and he's like, dude, these like having servants is not only like seen as normal, but they don't know how to talk to normal people that make less than them. Isn't that such an odd concept?
That is weird.
To the point
that is an odd concept.
You just
can you and I talk to people who make less than us?
Oh fuck yeah, we can.
So which is nothing.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm yeah. I was just trying to prove a point.
No. You're absolutely right, and that's what it's like. My brain is stalling, but it just how can you get past the point where? Why is it so common that people that make millions and millions of dollars disassociate from being human? I feel that's what it comes down to.
Do you run into that? Have you seen that?
Well, just why? I mean, that's the whole reason why we have reality TV. Look at reality TV, dude.
Oh gosh, man.
Celebrities, people that are somehow
TV.
famous, but they're able to get away with belligerent shit. Here's an easy one that we grew up with. Jersey Shore. Jersey Shore started when we were in high school. It was like 2007, 2008. I don't care if you want to fucking quote me and tell me I'm wrong. It happened between 2006 and 2010. That's when I was in high school. I remember watching Jersey Shore when it started.
Dude, we mentioned this shit on the last podcast.
Dude,
I swear to God, it was the same order.
It was always at the very end, like we'd be home from school, football practice, you had your dinner, you did your homework. It was always at 11:30, 12 at night, and you knew you needed to go to fucking bed, but you did not mind at all watching an hour of just dumb, drunk people act like dumb, drunk idiots. So, in a way, we fed it, but these people did this, didn't do anything great, made a fuck ton of money, and then somehow it made in their mind feel like they were better than normal humans. And they're not. But it's up to us to learn.
Yes, it is. It is up to us. It's up to us to learn from other people's fucking mistakes. It's up to us to learn from... that's it, dude. Learn from other people's mistakes, man. And be humble about it and share your learnings and your teachings with other people.
Yes.
Yeah, let's definitely raise a beer to that one. Thank you for tuning in. This is Pack X. We're going to go look up some creepy shit on the break. And if you're driving, you drive safe and stay tuned in with us. If you have a beer, go pour another one and let's rock on. Let's talk on. We'll see you after the break. This is the Pacific Xperience Podcast. Pacific Xperience podcast.
Thank you for tuning in, everyone.
This is Lloyd Smith.
Austin, still here.
And we're with you, you're with us. Thank you so much for tuning in. So on the break, we did nothing. We ate some peaches.
Dude, good night. Like, yeah, peaches, fucking great.
They were super good. They were super... Well, I have like... Yeah, dude, we're gonna have another one because I have a fuck ton of them and they're going bad, and I need to like.
But
eat
there's
them.
when you get fresh fruit and you can sit there. Oh, excuse me, because it was so good. I ate it so fast I had to burp. But no, when you can just sit there and enjoy the juices and you can enjoy the full flavor about it.
True that.
Man.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh man. Absolutely.
Oh man.
So we looked up some creepy shit. Definitely from the Pacific Northwest, but one thing we do have to correct is the hotel in The Shining. That is the Stanley Hotel, and that is not located in Oregon or Washington. It is located in Colorado. But that just goes to show another similarity between the Northwest and Colorado. I see it everywhere. I mean, everyone knows. Come on, we both, the thing with the Seahawks and the Broncos. We both elected pot to be legal at the same time. That's it.
Well,
right?
I mean, we don't have Peyton Manning legend.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I would think maybe it was shot. I feel it was shot. I'm out. It was shot somewhere in the Northwest. I feel it was shot in Oregon.
Yeah.
Like maybe the hotel used was not the Stanley Hotel, but they used something similar that was.
Yeah.
Because I feel that was
something Oregon related. Well, anyways, so
we're talking about creepy stuff.
Yeah.
Paranormal.
So yeah, creepy or paranormal, just whatever. So we just have a couple things on the list. The first thing, and so first thing we're just gonna go down here is Ted Bundy.
Oh.
Ooh,
dark.
Ted Bundy. So to sum it up, Austin, who the fuck was Ted Bundy?
Let me tell you. So Ted Bundy is a serial killer. He was sort of most notorious for a lot of people thought he was handsome, and he's again, as I feel as we learn more about serial killers, but he really fit in. He found a lot of victims at colleges. Wazoo, I think is where he found a lot of victims.
Yeah.
Found victims at PLU, somewhere at University of Puget Sound, maybe that was it. But he found victims in Tacoma. He
always attracted victims by having an injury with sympathy.
Yeah. So he was he was not at all, I would say he didn't look creepy, he looked normal. He seemed like a normal person, he had attractive features. The only reason that might be skewed is once you understand who Ted Bundy was. Killed a bunch of people from Washington to Florida, back, he escaped jail a couple times. I know... it is known that...
Escaped June 7th, 1977, June 13th, 1977, December 7th, 1977.
One of them was...
February 15th, 1978.
Yeah, one of them was...
4 fucking times he escaped. Convictions: aggravated kidnapping, attempted murder, burglary, murder, rape.
Yeah. He,
States: California, Colorado, Florida, Idaho, Oregon, Utah, Washington.
Yeah, so all very... a lot of those in this upper left region. I feel with typical serial killers, he had a violence toward animals. That was something I learned. He had this disdain towards women. It wasn't like an angry disdain, but viewed them as lesser. He preyed on them. He thought they were weak. And that's always the creepy thing is that, we've learned about these serial killers, but to not even creep you out more. But if you're someone that thinks about this, we know about serial killers now. How many proficient serial killers are there today? I mean, what is the FBI database of active serial killers? They probably wouldn't release it because it's probably a much larger number than anybody ever cares to know.
It's crazy. But look, dude, it says here Bundy confessed to 30 homicides. Bundy published 30 homicides, but the true total remains unknown. Published estimates have run as high as 100 or more, and Bundy occasionally made cryptic comments to encourage that speculation. 11 in Washington, 3 unidentified, 8 in Utah, 3 unidentified, 3 in Colorado, 3 in Florida, 2 in Oregon, 2 in Idaho, 1 in California. That is knuckin' futz.
Yeah.
That is fucking crazy. Oh my god, no, then you should see the list. Then it goes on and on and on. That is insane.
Big part of it too is we have a lot
You know,
of.
he used to wear turtlenecks to hide the scratches that were on his neck that women would get. That women would give him.
They're trying to find.
Yeah,
him out.
that's why he's always wearing a turtleneck. That's why in all of his pictures, he's always wearing a turtleneck.
I mean, it's.
That's
God,
why
man.
he stayed in the cold, so he could wear a turtleneck and justify it.
Yeah, we had a lot of trees. I mean, I would say so.
A
Washington is
lot of
actually
trees,
known.
a lot of darkness.
Was known for the serial killers. I wouldn't say
You
serial
get to
killer
grow
state.
your beard and it's normal. You
Yeah,
get to
but
wear
like, we
wear
definitely
long sleeve
attracted a
clothing
lot
and
of. I mean,
hoods, and
dude,
it's
Jeffrey
normal.
Dahmer, Ted Bundy, Green River Killer.
And then that other guy who we looked up, who we were going to mention, is Jake Bird.
Oh yeah, dude, that one's creepy.
So apparently Jake Bird, Austin, did you get a chance to?
Yeah, I read up on it.
Read up on Jake Bird. Tell us about Jake Bird.
So Jake Bird was basically a train hopper, and he ended up over here. And ended up. Train hopping, back in the day, yes, it was considered sort of like a homeless thing to do. But here's the thing: is that there's a difference between hobos and bums. Hobos actually were people that, yes, they would train hop and they necessarily didn't have a job, but when they went from town to town, they worked a job that would just pay for their food or meal for the night, and then they would leave. And that's actually a big difference, is that hobos never wanted to take away from the people that were trying to have sustainable jobs. They were vagabonds in a sense, so they would moving, so they only worked for what they needed to get to the next place. So he was a vagabond in a sense. Ended up and he hacked these people to death. And it was a mom and a daughter, I believe, in Washington. And the neighbors had heard screaming and whatnot. Like, they connected all the way back when, like in the 40s and 50s, when he was put on death row. And right before he was put to death, he the whole point is it's called the Jake Bird Hex. He said everybody that was involved with my prosecution will die. And as the story goes, is that when this happened, the judge died.
The judge died?
The judge died of a heart
Shut
attack.
the fuck up.
Of
a heart attack?
Yeah, multiple of these people
Okay,
died
not like
of heart
fucking
attacks.
murdered by some
No,
boy.
it's not just one. Like, the judge died, the jail guard died, the prosecuting attorney died, the clerk in the courtroom died. All these people died of heart attacks shortly after he was put to death.
That's fucking crazy. Of heart attacks. That's
Is
nuts.
it real? That's what's odd. Is it real?
Yeah.
Do you feel that
that's fucking
his
crazy,
hex
dude.
was an actual sort of like universal energy, like out of the realm thing that he was able to bestow upon these people, or was it just coincidence that these people died?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't find that fucking coincidence. There's no way. There's no way that's just fucking coincidence.
Just know that, Austin, I never go into haunted places.
Yeah.
I believe there are ghosts. I only think that you give ghosts power when you go into their energy field, or you go into where they reside and you try to like manifest them or see the proof, or you disrupt it. It's like, no, I fucking let them be. 'Cause that shit's terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, it's best to stay away from it. It's best to stay out of it. I don't know, man. I've had some crazy motherfucking Ouija board experiences, dude. I've had some experiences, dude, where we're straight up shitting our fucking pants, dude. Like, I went and burned a Ouija board one time because of how fucking freaked out it made me, man.
Oh, no.
I was like, no, I'm not fucking with that, because some friend of mine that was like into that kind of gypsy stuff was like, yeah, you need to go burn it and say this and that, and I was like, whatever you fucking say, sure, I'll do that. Since then, I haven't fucked with that shit. I was probably like 14 years old at the time, so yeah, count me out. But that leads to me, dude, what do you think of the giant ass motherfucking octopus?
Oh, that's a legend told to every
underneath
small child.
the Narrows Bridge.
So we're known here for having, in terms of sort of like water and wildlife, We have some of the strongest currents in the world. We definitely, and I recently found this out, but like our water temperature is cold pretty much throughout the year. It's really good. It's really good for sea life, like crustaceans and whatnot. So actually, I recently found out, because I don't usually eat oysters, but
Oysters are bomb.
but I was out hiking out on the Olympic Peninsula, and there's this place called Hamma Hamma, and I stopped by there, and me and my buddy were like, hey, let's get food here, and they only served oysters, but they served them cold.
Interesting.
Or they served them
just
roasted.
oysters.
And which means roasted is they put them in the sauce and they put them in the oven and it like cooks them sort of like Dude, it was great. But the person was telling us, and this is all family owned, and they said, yeah, dude, you know, like for 3 or 4 generations we've been learning about oysters, and we know that we grow really good oysters here, and we know that they're the best out here because of how cold the water stays, which typically people enjoy oysters in the summertime, but that's not necessarily good if in a hot water climate you're harvesting them. There's more chances for sort of bacteria and just whether it's them going bad or you know, staying raw, but these were some of the best oysters I've ever fucking had, and I'm not a seafood person, but it like when I clicked, I was like, oh, that makes sense, because we have really cold, deep, dark fucking water out here.
Yeah.
And yeah, something we were told is that there's a giant Pacific octopus underneath the Narrows Bridge called Gertie, and she's huge.
Let's check this out.
This is a diver. Is this in the Puget Sound?
Yeah.
Dude, cephalopods are insane. These are aliens. These are straight up fucking aliens. The way they move, their intelligence. They have camouflage, active camouflage. Look at this thing. It's changing colors to whatever the light is shining on. It's literally just blending in at a whim's notice.
Yeah.
They're soft-bodied, they're amoebic, they have a sharp beak to crunch food. Holy fucking moly. When was this shot?
It was published December 2nd, 2012.
Okay.
Fucking crazy, man. I don't know, that's something else. Octopi are fucking smart, man.
Oh yeah, dude, the amount of brain power that they and dolphins have. So, and that's again, so we're talking about a giant cephalopod in deep water. When you have a strong current, which can lead to a lot of, I would say just sort of in terms of circulation, fresh food, your shit's not stagnant, so you don't have anything that could be toxic. Like, you can live a long time, I would feel, in something that is that consistent. And they're able to eat fish, crabs, and a multitude of other things. It's not like orcas, which orcas have seen a decline because of environmental impacts due to salmon and whatnot.
Exactly, because of the decline of, wildlife.
Yeah.
And wildlife in itself. So the little graph right here shows what this giant octopus is compared to a human. It seems just, large as fuck. I mean, just take like, I don't know, take like a fucking, my trampoline out back. Like that big.
Well, and that's the thing
Like,
about it.
like in diameter, at least.
Well, it's like also it's that wide, and it's just as big as you, and it has muscles. Like, these things are incredibly strong. All these animals are incredibly strong. I mean, they have suction cups. Every single one of their arms is its own brain. I mean, think about being wrestled by a wrestler, Wendell. But you got a wrestler for each arm. They're all thinking about how to disarm your arm, and that's 4 wrestlers per arm.
Per arm.
That's too many wrestlers per arm.
That's 2 man wrestlers. Yeah. Well, speaking of freaky ass fucking creatures in the Pacific Northwest, we have the most famous one.
Purpleback Yetis.
What is it, Austin? What do we got? What's the crazy ass motherfucking creature that supposedly the good old Pacific Northwest has now?
Oh, you ready for it?
What is it?
We're talking about the Sasquatch. Bigfoot himself, ladies and gentlemen.
Bigfoot? Bigfoot himself.
Hail to the king, baby.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gotta let him know, son.
Well-
Sasquatch is real and cruising for a bruising.
Austin, what do you truly think about Sasquatch? Dude, other people trip out over Sasquatch honestly the way I do about extraterrestrial.
Well,
But you and I live up here, and
Well-
I've never really cared. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, if he's real,
I'm not
then he's
trying
real.
to be all like I know
That's
the Northwest.
so...
Like, oh, I know when I'm dead, man. Like, I lived up here. Okay, here's what I think. It'd be dumb to think that Sasquatch doesn't exist. I do think he exists. And I do
I
think
think
that
he
he
does,
lives
too.
up in this quadrant of the United States. It's suitable for him, the way the fucking people... And I have a personal tie to this because my great-grandma on my mom's side actually wrote a bunch of Bigfoot books. In Butte,
Really?
Montana.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool as fuck. Okay.
And here's the thing, though, is that, you know, you go to Montana, that's some wild country, son. Like, as opposed to going to Alaska, like the last wild frontier, Montana is wild country, son. It's some fucking woods. It's not like, you know, here is wild, but in Montana, it's very common you see cougars and bears. It's very common that you see
Yes, it
interact
is.
with wildlife. Trails aren't that maintained. I mean, it's rough in it, and here it's like, yeah, we have outdoor and wildlife that is maintained. I mean, we have nice switchbacks and guardrails to keep fat people from falling over. But dude, Sasquatch, totally
Yeah.
fucking alive.
Totally
fucking real.
alive.
Native
totally
Americans
real.
have talked about him for a long time.
Yeah.
The Native Americans also talked about basically like a pterodactyl type of bird that was like a giant eagle. Can't remember the name, but to think that these animals don't exist, if they
To see these signs over and over and over again.
oh, yeah, dude, it's naive. If they have learned how to adapt and survive, and it's not like they're a top apex predator, but it's all about the marathon race, man. It's all about survivability, and if they've learned that, I think there's no doubt that we have Sasquatch living in these parts.
Yeah.
For fucking sure.
Yeah. Okay. So far with this list, we've given you Ted Bundy, crazy motherfucker, super sly. Apparently, real girls aren't this good looking. There's bodies that still have not been found. There's still bones that haven't been identified. He's from the
Goddamn.
Pacific Northwest. He would hide his scars with his clothing, aka with fucking turtlenecks and shit. So Ted Bundy, crazy motherfucker, just absolutely insane. The kind of people, those are the people. That is the reason why the death penalty still exists. Is because of
Absolutely.
fucking people like that. And you know what? I'm not for the death penalty, but I am for the death penalty with that shit. I just kind of like to live in this false reality where people like that don't exist.
Yeah.
But unfortunately they do. Therefore, I'm for the death penalty, but that's just unfortunate shit. So that's fucking crazy. We'll put that in the past. And then we have Jake Bird, who is just, that's some creepy like witch shit. Like
Yeah, dude, he really
spiritual
he
coincidence
really
or
put it
not.
like a hex.
Let us know what you think. Tag us at PackX Podcast on Facebook. Let us know what you think. 6 people involved in his arrest having heart attacks. He said to everyone in the courthouse, he said he cast a spell or a curse, and he said, all of you are going to die before I die.
Yep.
And 6 of them did.
Yep.
So, what do you think? Coincidence? And it's all by heart attack? Or did someone just slip the wrong whatever of the whatever in all of their fucking tea that night, or coffee the next morning? Who fucking knows? So then we have, the Pacific octopus. That's real as it could fucking be. It's pretty big. Honestly, dude, as a kid, I imagined him being the size of, like, the Tacoma Dome. You know?
Fuck
like,
yeah.
I'm just like, no, he lives under there. He's fucking massive.
Oh,
dude.
yeah, dude,
He's fucking terrifying.
Godzilla. He's
I've heard some
he's a world ender.
I have heard of some stories. There's a buddy of mine whose dad worked on the second Narrows Bridge when it was being built and when it was going up. And when they were down by the water doing some work, this diver came up out of the water, and he didn't have his fucking mask on. And he came up and he was gasping for air. And as he was gasping for air, he said that he was down under, and suction cups grabbed his mask and pulled it off.
Jesus.
Like suction cups. So that's like fucking creepy as shit. That's real as it could be. Apparently, the reason why we talk about this, it's not just an octopus, by the way. This is the largest octopus in the world, supposedly. Now, there's still some people out there that say that that's not true, but it yet has to be disproven. There is not a recorded octopus larger than this one. So, and by the way, that's recorded like on film, and there's rumors of one's bigger, but that's the one that's for sure at least taken down. And then we go to Sasquatch, who is, of course, Austin, I think, is as real as he could be. Maybe it's just because we're from the Pacific Northwest, but our attitude about it is leave him the fuck alone. And that's why I'm into all the fucking conspiracies you can think of, dude. If you tell me there's fucking leprechauns running around in this county over here, I'm gonna look into it a little bit. You know, I'm not gonna necessarily fall for it, but I'm gonna spend some of my fucking time that's very valuable that I don't have into it anyways.
Of these gnomes.
Let's look at these fucking underpants gnomes. Let's check them out. Are they really jacking your underpants, or are they your socks? I don't know. We're gonna have to look into it. But yeah, so ultimately that's what we feel about with Sasquatch. He's probably real, and you know what? Leave him the fuck alone. So what? Yeah, he's here. Now, if you want to talk about some extraterrestrial shit, I've heard shit, though, that Sasquatch is, like, interdimensional.
Interdimensional.
So I hear. I don't know. Like, he's from another dimension. Now you have my attention. But it still doesn't make me want to go hunt him down. You know what I mean? It just still doesn't make me want to go sight him. Yeah. And so, I don't know, and then we talked about the Stanley Hotel, that's in Colorado, not Washington, but Washington and Colorado and Oregon are very similar. The Mount Rainier UFOs. So supposedly in like the 1950s, 1960s, this pilot saw like a fucking train of UFO lights, hovering above Mount Rainier. So let's definitely look into a little bit more, because I honestly don't know shit about it. But Austin, tell the guests what we've been drinking.
We have been sipping on some lighter beers, Double Mountain Pale Ale. For Sir Wendell himself, I picked up a Pint Defiance. Thank you, Pint Defiance, for all the beautiful West Coast needs. I've been drinking some Occidental Kolsch, a light German beer, refreshing, easy on the ABV, 4.5, or about what both of these sit at. I think that's actually 4.8.
Yeah.
But we've been doing that so we don't get too lost in the sauce and lose our train of thought.
Dude, I'm trying to look something up here, and all I'm seeing is how they're talking about how there's clouds that look like UFOs that are always spotted by it, by Mount Rainier, which is very true. I've actually seen a fuck ton of clouds myself, and pictures when I type in UFO in Washington or something, and it will show pictures of clouds looking like in the shape of a UFO by Mount Rainier, and there's actually a fuck ton of pictures.
Was there ever...
that is ironic.
Was there ever a photo of, like, stagnant, sort of orderly lights over Mount Rainier?
Yes. No photo. This was claimed by a pilot. So, I mean, there you go. There's your story. No photo, of course. But, yeah, see, okay, look at these pictures. This is a real picture. This is a real picture. Real picture, real picture. These are all clouds that look like UFOs, man. Maybe Mount Rainier is just a launching center, and the way that they launch the UFOs out is they just have a cloud appear that looks like the UFO, and then the cloud just takes off, or the UFO just takes off behind the cloud.
Jesus.
That can't be real.
That's crazy.
Is that real?
It's hard to tell, man.
There's no way nature does that shit naturally. Like that. Yeah, dude. See, these clouds always look like this by Mount Rainier. Did we just discover a new conspiracy?
UFOs over Mount Rainier.
Mount Rainier clouds.
Oh no.
Oh great! If we started it, we gotta finish it, dude. We opened up that motherfucking can of worms. I don't think we have time to finish it on tonight's episode, but we definitely have to look into this now. We have to debunk it. We have to. We have to, especially for the ones that started. We
Debunk UFOs over Mount Rainier.
Let's type in
How?
UFO. Or no. Let's type in Mount Rainier cloud conspiracy. Well, it's definitely not a conspiracy, but there is some news stories asking why the clouds look like that. No one's putting it together though that there's multiple of these clouds. Interesting. I'm sure it can be explained scientifically. Well, it looks like that's I don't know. That's something that's pretty interesting. I don't know. I definitely want to look into it more.
Well, it becomes so in depth because so much hidden shit about the government.
It becomes so much what?
Hidden shit.
Yeah. The government is hiding
The usual happens.
everything from us. All the technology. I hear that they're 30 fucking years advanced. Some fucking outrageous fucking shit like that. I don't know. Well, we definitely want to get educated on this podcast. We want you to come on with us. If you're listening, please give us those 5 stars, the thumbs up. Give us the review. Send us an email, Xperience@gmail.com. Let us know what you think. Please leave some comments. Give us some feedback. We would really love to know what's going on out there in the world. Get us educated. Open our minds. Hopefully we can open your mind. But we want to thank you so much for tuning in. It's fucking late. Austin and I are tired. We're going to hit the rack. But we'll see you next week. Actually, I don't know if we'll be seeing you next week. We definitely have the 4th of July weekend coming up. But don't get too upset because we will have a 4th of July episode. We just don't know if it's going to be on the 4th of July or on that week of. But we'll see you soon. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Pacific Xperience Podcast.